All right, we are in the future, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Me and my mute friend, there he is. Hello again, everybody.
Well, I was waiting for you to say something of any consequence so that I could respond to it because my ears were still ringing from the twanging, although that encapsulates my mood. Brian, I don't know where we are. I don't know what we may have said. We've time traveled. We may have not said it yet, but we're going to say it. And if you haven't already seen, you will see. But we are in the middle of this chaotic weekend of wrestling, too much wrestling from everybody. We're going to be talking all about it if we haven't already talked about it. And I could give two shits and a French fried you-know-what if I ever see any goddamn wrestling again. How about that? Let me just say that at the top of the program. I think I would rather watch highlights of major historical personalities' funerals than watch any more wrestling right now.
Obviously, as you can see, ladies and gentlemen, not all of Mercedes Moné's fans are taking this well, but we have a lot to talk about. Eventually, we'll have AEW All in Texas, which Jim is certainly likely to enjoy. But before we get there, WWE said, hey, AEW's got to get attention. Let's try to ruin their day, and presented a day of programming as a part of a weekend of programming. We did not watch the NXT Great American Bash for anyone who's...
Yeah, and anybody who's mad about that can kiss my big fat white ass.
Well, to be fair, you've lost a lot of weight.
All right, then formerly big fat white ass.
And of course...
Because, well, wait a minute. Now, NXT, it was a pay-per-view event or a premium live event or whatever it was. It was 3 hours long, I'm sure. Right? 2 or 3.
I would guess, yes.
And the Saturday night's main event, that's the main event. That's the big show on network television with the big stars, the big time, the big boys. That was 2 hours. The women's pay-per-view, I'm sure they get 3 hours of their own. So now we're up to 8 hours. And then the lone AEW program of the weekend decides, hey, we'll just do 8 hours all by ourselves. So if anybody is complaining because I, at my advanced age and current bank balance, didn't feel the goddamn need to watch every bit of that 16 hours of wrestling, below me.
Well, that was the review of the NXT Great American Bash. And of course,
and the women's pay-per-view.
Well, that hasn't happened yet. That was your review of the women's pay-per-view.
Well, no, we were time traveling. I don't know.
Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky.
Well, now that what platform is that on? How could I just see that without having to see anything else?
I believe it would be on Peacock.
So you mean I have to watch the cock to see Rhea Ripley?
That's right. Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus.
Well, we'll see what happens. But you know what I watched first, because I didn't want to have such a bad taste in my mouth and such a poor be in such a poor frame of mind that I wouldn't want to see anything, even if it was good. I watched the major network television production. It was only 2 hours with commercials, because I am a senior citizen. I'm, not sure about watching these 3-4 hour programs. That's a large chunk of my remaining time. But for 2 hours, being able to skip through commercials, courtesy of DVR, you can see Saturday night's main event, and you can see the big stars, and you can see the network television production, and Goldberg's final match. I figure, what can possibly go wrong? And we'll talk about what went wrong. But at least it was quick. I can't say painless, not for everybody, but at least it was quick. Brad, where do we start? At the beginning?
At the beginning, which they did the same intro they've been doing for the last several, where it's like a retro theme into the modern day.
Which you remember first time I said, hey, that's cool. Second time I said, I like that thing. And now I'm like, they're doing it again.
I'm picking the thing apart. I can't not do that. I'm like, yeah, Shawn Michaels wasn't on the original. That was on Fox. You can't count that. But they did that. Then they went to what they've been doing for the Open every show, Joe Tessitore and Jesse the Body Ventura. Last time Jesse was on the event, the show.
Yes.
He did commentary. Shat all over the fucking finish of the cage match. I was dying to see how they used him this time.
Well, and he didn't do commentary this time, funnily enough. Jesse, I mean, actually, to be honest, it wasn't their fault because the real Jesse Ventura, his plane was delayed. They had to have the crypt keeper stand in, doing the voice. He looks like he's dehydrated. And I'm not talking about needs a drink of water. I'm talking about like desiccated. Like when you put something in one of those things is that a natural mummification process, Brian?
What? I didn't expect you to ask if it was natural mummification.
I'm trying to get your scientific input on this. Now, I'm sure you've,
of course,
read something about this in the science journals.
Governor Tut.
Governor Tut is at ringside now to present. No, he did the stand up as normal, and it was probably about how long he can stand up. And Brian, correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't think we ever saw or heard from Jesse Ventura ever again. Did we?
I don't think so.
Because I do skip commercials now. Did I skip some little 30 seconds in the middle where they say, hey, Jesse, what's for supper or something like that? But I didn't see him again.
I don't remember seeing him again. Now, again, things did change apparently on the fly on the show due to the injury, which raises a lot of questions about how long that was going to go, how long Goldberg versus Gunther was going to go. Maybe Jesse would have figured into a part right there. And they said, we have to cut that out.
Well,
and no commentary.
It would be hard to figure why what happened would affect the announce teams that were planned, but nevertheless, they got a contract, right? With Jesse.
But they got a Legends deal too, I think, right?
Well, yes, we got the deal with Jesse, and Jesse could be litigious if we don't honor our commitments, so he's on Saturday night's main event. But I didn't think the commentary on the cage that everybody poo-pooed last time when I said they got to be out of their mind in the truck. They're like, oh, it's the best part of the show. It's Jesse. All the people on Twitter, that is. I think the people in the truck won.
They should have put him out there for like the Jimmy Uso versus Solo match. Why not?
I'm not sure what he could have.
What could he have said to ruin that? Nothing.
Well, are you insinuating because it was already bad enough to begin with, or?
Well, no, I'm just saying, I mean, of all the matches that, when you rank the importance of things on the show, setting up the celebrity angle, Seth Rollins versus LA Knight, and apparently there was some other plan for that. The main event, the retirement of Goldberg, who never had a single match called by Jesse Ventura. I think that's the match that would have been the candidate.
I'm pretty sure they're content to let Jesse do the stand-up with Joe Tessitore at the start and then get him back to oxygen as quickly as possible. A lot of people are getting too old, including me. I'm too old for this shit. I'm not even doing it.
Jesse still does the thing he always did. And it's amazing he got away with it. I mean, he was so good. Where he mouths the words the other person is saying as they're saying them. So you just start watching Jesse. You're like, Jesse's like, he knows what this other person's going to say the entire time. Sometimes it's teleprompter, but sometimes it's just Jesse like figuring out what the other person's saying.
Yeah, it's like he should be one of the interpreters. If he could just do that, if somebody was speaking another language and say it at the same time, he could have got a job with Steve Stack on Southwest Wrestling.
It makes it look like he's a ventriloquist and he's like trying not to talk, but he's actually saying the exact same words that the dummy's saying. Not to call Joe Tessitore a dummy.
Well, I was gonna say.
He's just dressed like one.
Should we talk about the show? Because, I mean, where else can you start here on the WWE program with Randy Orton making his entrance with Jelly Roll? Jelly Roll, who was on SmackDown just the night before performing whatever it is that he performs, when he was disrupted and enraptured by Logan Paul, who stopped his concert, and then Randy Orton had to yell at Logan Paul, but then Drew McIntyre Claymore kicked Randy Orton, and then Logan Paul beat Orton up, but Jelly Roll rolled right in there to save the day and pulled Logan Paul off of Randy Orton. It has come to this, that not only are we talking about a guy named Jelly Roll, but that he is the guy that saved Randy Orton from Logan Paul.
And a lot less jelly. He used to be really, really big and fat. Now he's, just kind of big and fat, but he's lost a ton of weight, so some of the imposing nature of the Jelly Roll, it's like the jelly's been sucked out.
Well, yeah, it's like it's sugar-free jelly. There's something there, but it doesn't really have any fucking oomph. At least when he was 500 pounds, you think, get 3 steps of momentum going for a guy, and you got 500 pounds of just fucking mass coming at you. He could do something. Even if he was just a big fat piece of shit, which you would be if you were 500 pounds.
He's out there dressed like John Popper. Seriously, Logan Paul should just rip his shirt off. That should be the move. Like, I'm not even going to try to fight you. I'm just going to expose you. And just
No. If they bleep fuck, they'll censor that.
Well, we're not even talking about the match yet. We had a match to talk about.
Well, so anyway, Orton comes out with Jelly Roll and Drew comes out with Logan Paul. So Drew versus Orton. Drew's backup is Logan Paul, and Randy Orton's is Grammy nominated or award-winning singer or whatever the fuck he's done, Jelly Roll, who's a formerly giant, Martin the Blimp Levy level fat fuck, but is now just a regular fat fuck that you see walking around the streets. So this is what we are come up against with the AEW versus WWE weekend. The complete opposites. And sometimes you're embarrassed to be a wrestling fan and watch either one of them. The AEW matches never end. And the guys, in a lot of cases, aren't even professional. The WWE guys are professional. And you barely see any of the fucking match. In AEW, nothing can beat anybody. And in the WWE, fat fucking singers can beat up the wrestlers.
That's the best way to get booked well, is to sing. If you're a singer, you get pushed in the main event right away.
Oh, and I forgot. And in the WWE, the singers interrupt the wrestling. And in AEW, the best part of the fucking show is the singers interrupting the wrestling. But anyway, they got in a fight, did Drew and Randy, and went back and forth, some action, couple desk drops by McIntyre on Orton, and Orton's selling the back, and they go to the break in 2 minutes. Good Jesus Christ, network TV is made. So they come back. Randy sells the back. My thought is that Jelly Roll better be glad he can sing, if he can sing. 'Cause with the facial tattoos, his other career options may be limited. And then Randy makes a comeback, drops Drew on the desk, hits the draping DDT, calls for the RKO. Logan Paul distracts him, and Drew claymores him 2-count foot on the ropes. Holy shit. And then Paul and Roll start arguing and shoving each other. And Drew tells Roll, well, just bring your, see, it's about Drew here. Just bring your fat ass on in the ring and I'll handle you, me pretty. I don't know how the fuck to do that accent. And Roll won't roll. He won't come. So then Drew goes around to pick up Orton, and Orton RKO's him 1, 2, 3. It was 9 minutes with the break. So it was okay for what it was, but there wasn't much of it. And then Logan Paul gets on Orton and starts getting heat on him. And here comes Roll. And he pulls Logan Paul off, and they get nose to nose. And Roll hits him with a forearm, kind of, sort of, somewhere around there. And Logan Paul went down and rolled out. And then as Roll was checking on Orton, Drew Claymore kicked Roll and talked to him quite dismissively. And then all the officials and the referees came out, and we left with Orton worried about Roll. But before we get to the big reveal, the big announcement that they made, do you have any comments so far, Brian, on this tomfoolery?
I think everyone figured the announcement they were going to make before they made it, and then they made the announcement Tony Khan style, just like minutes later in the middle of the show. Hey, this all of a sudden has been announced for SummerSlam. And this is TKO's wet dream, this match. Oh, we got a celebrity here, and we got a celebrity here. And Jelly Roll is still like, if you watch like anything like outside of wrestling media in the real world, they fawn over him. Like every network, they fawn over this fucking guy. So eventually that's going to run out, but he's running with his moment, and he's a big wrestling fan, and that's what it takes right now. If you are a celebrity and a big wrestling fan, hang out a little bit, get to know some people, eventually get to know Paul, and then impress him. Talk to him about how much you love the business. Really kiss some ass. Even you can main event WrestleMania.
And Roll may be a nice guy. And I'm sure he's a big fan, and I hope he's being very respectful. But Jesus, I could even understand, with the Dennis Rodman thing. It's a professional athlete. The celebrity crossover, Lawler and Kaufman, everybody's tried to emulate since, but these are two main event fucking guys against Randy Orton and Jelly Roll. And I mean, is this any better than Jay Leno? At least Leno was in shape back then. He could be a manager. He could be in the, but anyway, so that's at SummerSlam. So we got that to look forward to.
Is that just a match, or was that one of the main events? Is it just a match?
Well, I hope it's just a match. I can't imagine it's one of the main events unless there's a massive bus accident involving major WWE talent between now and then. Would that be the main event?
I said a main event, not the main event.
One of the 2 nights, one of the main events of either night. Where is Jelly? What name me Jelly Roll's biggest hit, Brian?
I'm not the person for that. I'm not a fan of a lot of things right now. And
I'm not a fan of a lot of people.
The modern morphing and destruction of country music into glam nonsense, and then you incorporate other genres. It's just everything to me sounds synthetic and shitty and auto-tuned. And I don't need to hear any more sad sack fucking shit. I don't care what kind of rhyme form it's in. I want to hear something that fucking feels good and rocks. But fuck. That's that. No, I don't know this guy's fucking music. Fuck his music.
Well, but his genre is allegedly the new thing they call country.
It's country. I think he did hip hop, or I shouldn't say hip hop, rap. And that's everything now. Country and rap put together. Fucking ruining music.
Crap, country and rap, crap. So Jelly Roll's genre is crap, but he's on top of the charts when it comes to the crap fans.
I think they even introduced a new category now at the Grammys. It was what was it? Best traditional country music. Because country music now is just glam pop. It's just terrible. Terrible.
I never liked country music anyway because it was very disrespectful to bluegrass. Too show busy. Anyway, they had stars in the crowd, Brian, including Jade Cargill, who was there and just sitting in the front row with some of the other top talent just so that they could be photographed. And thing is, they're sitting in the same seat because you always see the same fucking people sitting next to them. So they must either have bladder control issues, all these stars, or just not want to see the rest of the show. But as Jade is at ringside, Naomi came from behind her and beat the shit out of her. And then Jade fought back, and the security and the referees had a big pull apart. And Nick Aldis said, "All right, I've had enough here. I was going to do this in front of you in the office like professionals instead of out here in public. But since you've gone this far," he then brings out she was just standing back there, never dreamed that this was going to happen. And they had the music queued up. The special referee for their pay-per-view match on Evolution is Bianca Belair, who came out in a dress apparently she had worn to the Grammy Awards. Is that the
no skipping
fanciest referee outfit you've ever seen in your life?
Maybe so, but no skipping, no dancing, all the things you always say you're sick of.
Well, no, because she couldn't skip and dance in that fucking thing. It would have fallen apart. She was barely able to fucking move.
You see the way Naomi and Jade were slugging each other?
Well, yeah, I don't know whether it's that they and the Naomi diving on everybody almost killed like 4 people. I don't know whether it's that they legitimately don't like each other or they just don't know how to fucking work.
I enjoy it. Watching those two just beat the shit out of each other, I enjoy the fuck out of it. It's like Queen Aminata and Tekla. Something's going on here. What the fuck? Are they shooting? Are they not shooting? Are they friends? Do they hate each other? But they were laying it in. I liked it.
I'm thinking it's more in the I'm not sure they either one know how to work category, but nevertheless. So Bianca will be the referee, and hopefully she won't be wearing that ball gown that she was in.
Now, come on, you got to watch that match, don't you?
No.
Whose side will Bianca take? Will there be a turn?
I think if Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk were in the main event tomorrow night at the Louisville Gardens, I wouldn't want to see any more wrestling.
Now, why would they be in the main event on a Monday night in Louisville?
Well, you don't know whether that's tomorrow or not when other people are listening to this. I'm just saying tomorrow night, which would be enough time for me to fucking hear about it and get tickets and go. So then for the U.S. title, Jimmy Uso versus Solo with JC Mateo, Tama Tonga, and Taller Tonga. And this one they didn't show a lot of, but to be honest, I wasn't broke up about that because to me, they're too similar. They've got the same style and they also have the same drawbacks and bad habits. The punches you can see through with the open hand, the head palm shoot offs, the timing issues, neither one of them is smooth as baby oil, so to speak. They worked hard, but it's like watching the same guy work with the same guy. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, they are brothers.
Well, yes, but so were Dory and Terry. And could you find two more different people? They don't have a good smooth match with each other, because if either or the other one is in the ring with another guy who's a little bit smoother worker, it works out better. But together, but they got a couple of 2 counts. People like Uso, the people don't like Solo. Solo hit a rock bottom. Uso hit a couple of super kicks. Solo rolled to the floor, and then Uso dove on all 3 of them, and the audio was muted forever. Did you, or was it just my cable system, or was that a network thing?
That happened twice yesterday. It happened there, and then it happened on the AEW pay-per-view. Every time they went to like the Kevin Hart DraftKings commercial, it went mute.
Well, this was just, there was no sound. I don't know what anybody could have been saying, but it was NBC, so they got different standards. So then taller Tonga tries to come and attack Uso on the floor in front of the referee, but even though he's tried, because he didn't actually connect, the referee just stands there and looks stupid. So they've got that rule now. But Uso kicked him, and then Solo schoolboyed Uso from behind, and as he was on top of him, Taller stuck his leg in and braced him 1, 2, 3. So Taller came in and leveled Uso, and they got heat on him, and Solo spiked him. And then here came Jacob. And he made a comeback on the Stooges and fought with Taller and dove on everybody, and they loved Jacob to death. But that was kind of what that was. I mean, it wasn't rotten. Matches, Love seeing Jacob. That's my thoughts.
Tell me what you think, but I'm just kind of sick of the Solo Sikoa universe, I guess. And, this giant is just in the background.
He's a small giant, isn't he?
I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the outfit, or I don't know if it's just the hair. But he's a giant and he's clearly bigger than everyone else there, yet you don't think oh my God. You don't think oh my God, that giant's going to get to Jacob Fatu. You don't have that thought.
I'm telling you, remember what I told you? He doesn't have an abnormally large head. He has a small head. A giant has to have a big head.
What about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar?
What, was anybody fucking scared of him in a wrestling ring? Or, you can have a small head and be a basketball player.
I'm trying to think of other giants as I'm running through my head.
Well, and think about it, with Jabbar versus Bruce Lee, visually looked ridiculous, and you didn't have any problem thinking that Bruce Lee could probably just snap all of his goddamn tiny little arms and legs. But if he'd have had a big giant fucking head, and the shit would have been on.
When did you first see Game of Death? Or the footage from Game of Death?
When was it first released? Was it was 78 by that point, wasn't it?
Were you seeing Bruce Lee stuff in the theaters?
Yes. Of course. Didn't everybody? Enter the Dragon was a big fucking deal. Me and my cousin Larry went to see that 3 times.
Well, he's a black belt.
A 3rd degree, I believe. I'll have you know.
So not as good as Kung Fu Fooey. I was going to say, not as good as Hong Kong Fooey, but close. He's a 4th degree.
Well, I don't remember. Now, he could have been a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th. You never know, because it was the same kind of strip mall as Fooey got his license in. But anyway, nevertheless, that was that. I agree with you. The Samoan universe around Solo is not that threatening to me.
Yeah.
Are you threatened?
Again, I think it just kind of dropped off, and I like Jeff Cobb. Yeah. I get a kick out of Tonga Loa. I don't know where Tama Tonga went.
Oh, this was Loa, not Tama.
Yeah.
See, there are too many of them.
And I don't think it's a Jacob Fatu problem, him being the babyface against him. I just don't think anything. Jeff Cobb came in, he was just slotted right in. And it's worked in the past. It worked with Tama Tonga, where you just accept, like, okay, this person's with this person. But there was very little done to establish it. It was just all of a sudden there.
Well, now there's too many degrees of separation from the whole original thing.
Yeah, there's no Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns is nowhere near any of this programming, and that was the original thing.
Well, but the spinoff, right? The Jeffersons, you didn't suddenly wonder where the bunkers were. You didn't care about them, right?
That's a good point. That's a
very
good point, yeah.
But then there's a reason why that, fucking Marla Gibbs didn't get her own show off the Jeffersons, because it was too many degrees of separation.
But the original Lionel on All in the Family, that's still the Lionel.
Well, yes. Yeah, you can't replace anybody that visible. See, and maybe that's what they think is happening with the Tama and the Tonga, Loa, or Tama and Loa. And I don't even know about Taller.
You see?
See, he just came from nowhere, and he doesn't look like any of the other people. So who's he related to?
Tonga.
Well, they don't look similar. You could see the family resemblance between the Usos and Solo, and you could see that Jacob was the one of them that turned into a werewolf, but this other guy comes in looking like Ned. I don't know what his fucking deal is.
Well, that was that, and we move on with Saturday.
Oh, we're moving on now?
Yes.
All right, let's move on. Jeez, Seth Rollins and LA Knight. And this, we'll talk about the match first, but I'm sure everybody's heard what happened. But again, these two guys can work, and they're over. And you got a baby face, you got a heel, and it's one-on-one. And they start cooking at a little good pace, and they go to break in 2 minutes. Okay, when they come back, 3 minutes later, they're at a stationary body scissors by Seth Rollins. And within a minute, LA Knight's making his comeback, hits his elbow off the top. And then they start going into shit. Seth goes to the top, and LA Knight's going to do his leap up and suplex or whatever, superplex. But Seth slipped under him and buckle bombed him. And then as he's in the middle of the ring, Seth does a springboard swanton across him, boom, and then rolls up and jumps up on the ropes to do a springboard moonsault. But LA Knight moves, and Seth is going to land on his feet to do whatever. Now they're doing the flying Walendas. And Seth lands on his feet and blows his fucking knee, his right knee. So, and immediately he's like, I'm fucked. And he rolls over in a corner, and they showed a replay, and you see Paul's face with his standard grin on his face to when he sees Seth land and buckle and roll over, and he's yelling. He's like, oh. And they had a conference in the corner with Paul and the referee, and the doctor comes over, and Seth was doing most of the talking. And then he pulled himself up to his feet and it took one step on his good leg toward LA Knight so LA Knight could kick him and hit the BFT 1, 2, 3. And LA Knight gets his hands up, but you could tell he's not pissed. I don't think it's Seth, but he's like, oh, fuck, what's happened here? And yet they never shot Seth again on camera because they were having to help him out. So they went short. I don't know how long they were going to go. But probably the best match we were going to see in this show did not really take place.
I've seen a few replays now going around. A lot of fans have isolated different parts of the footage. It appears that he jacked up his knee the first time when he did the rolling tumble salt.
Well, I saw that clip too, and I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think he was off balance. He wasn't perfect, and I'm willing to be corrected if Seth Rollins comes out and from his own lips says, "Oh, I fucked it up on the first one." But otherwise, he was rolling. He came up, instead of rolling straight to his feet, he was rolling a little sideways. So he bobbled to get back up on both feet, but it didn't look like anything that would have traumatized his knee. And he didn't flinch or, do anything more than grab the rope and get his balance to jump up. It wasn't like, oh, should I do this? But when he did that, when he landed on the moonsault, he just landed with a lot of velocity. And even though his knee was bent, he's had knee issues. And that kind of impact, if he's got and had knee issues before, it didn't look like something that would just have completely blown his ACL out, but it could have gone the other way. It could have been the PCL. From a PCL is more when you have a hyperextension or something, or slippage in the knee joint rather than a clippage from the side. Did he just come down with too much weight and too much velocity on something that he's been? Did he do therapy for a WrestleMania last year? He rolled in the ring and his leg was flopping around.
His leg was done last year, and then he was out for a long time rehabbing that.
Okay, so it don't take being hit by a steamroller. And I saw some people add, "Oh, it's a work." Well, you're a fucking idiot.
Well, see, that's the thing. I think if you watch the show, it's easy to think that, because the commentators right before it happened were talking about his bad knee on Monday. And then all of a sudden the knee injury happens. And, I think this is one of the problems with like the Michael Cole style of commentary. When you're constantly all year round screaming at everyone in a really fake manner about all these great things you can buy, just nonstop all year round. Nothing seems genuine.
Yeah.
When there is something genuine, you don't believe them. And that was my first thought too. Like the way the commentary is talking about this. Wade Barrett sounded like he knew right away, because you almost hear, "Oh no." You hear it in the back, "Oh no." And I think it was ACL. And I think it was absolutely his ACL.
Well, first of all, with Wade Barrett, he's a wrestler and he knows. And he also knows there's no goddamn way in the world that they would have done this if it was a work, to completely bring a halt to the match, pretty much expose that, again, there didn't used to be injury timeouts until there started being so many real injuries. So if the guy can't get up, the referee can count him out or the guy can pin him. But when you stop something like that, and then you see the obvious, what's going on, and there's nothing happening because they're making shit up, and then he takes one step and walks into the guy's finish and protects his leg while taking a move that doesn't have anything to do with his leg, he's fucking hurt. And it would be a stupid, stupid way to work something.
And let me ask you about that. As a promoter, as a booker, was that the right decision? Seth Rollins realizing he's hurt, very short relatively, although it's on TV, so it seems like a long time, conference with Heyman and the referee, and then he gets up and walks into a finish that he may not have taken if he hadn't gotten hurt.
Well, yeah, no, that wasn't going to be the finish, and that's the thing, is that's why I said Seth was doing a lot of the talking. If you know, Paul wasn't saying a lot. Paul kind of had that, his face just kind of freezes in moments where it's like, what's happening? You can't really tell what's going on with him. It's probably served him well. And the referee was just, clicking her IFB apparatus to communicate or hear back and forth or whatever. Seth, that's the thing. If a guy was knocked out, goofy and had a concussion and said, I can't, let's do something, I got to go, you can figure out a way to small package yourself. And so Seth had to realize, because he's had a history of knee injuries, he knows what they feel like. He didn't just think, oh, I've sprained my ankle. Because elsewise, he might have tried to figure out a way to small package fucking LA Knight with one leg. But he had to realize, oh shit, this is not good. I'm fucked. You know what? Fuck it. You beat me. Because what I'm gonna be gone for a while. Just fucking take it. Why not?
Yeah, see, that's what I thought. Do you think that's the right decision?
Yes. To make the best of a bad situation, and the people knew that there was something wrong, and LA Knight's reaction to winning kind of, because he just got out of the ring and got the fuck out of there. That kind of drove it home. I'm not saying he was acting unprofessionally. Everybody was disappointed, upset, whatever. But at least he got a win over a name that, to make the best out of this match that couldn't go on any other way. Because Seth ain't going to give him the stomp in that condition. And then sometimes guys, well, didn't old Mercedes moan? She lost a match in Japan when she realized she was fucked up. Maybe that's what they should have been doing beforehand, was trying to hurt her to get her to do a job. Seth realized, I'm going to be out for a while. Fuck it. Right. And who's going to argue with him at that point? I don't know if that came from the back as much as Seth just said, let's just get the fuck out of here and do this. But, that's the problem, is everybody knows now it's a work, but also the companies tell them, because it used to, a guy would just roll out on the floor and the other guy would fucking, keep making the referee or keep breaking the referee's count to give the guy a chance. But now everybody's got a IFB microphone, a doctor comes, there's this big goddamn conference, and the other guy's just left over there going, what the fuck, I'll stand here until somebody tells me what to do. So it's more obvious. This has always happened, but it's more obvious now, is what I'm saying to you.
So let's talk a little bit about Seth Rollins. Obviously going with the idea this isn't a work, and he's hurt again, and it's his knee again. How do you treat someone like that when they come back? Now, you've previously been around Seth Rollins before he was there, when his style was even more physical, I think you could argue, and he wasn't carrying as much muscle as he is now. And he still wrestles an incredibly physical style, and obviously you watch what he does. He's a heel doing a lot of babyface things with his legs. The springboards, the jumping, those are babyface things that a heel's doing. It's his style. He's gone down now a few times. A, what do you do with him when he comes back? And B, he's the Money in the Bank winner. You put a whole stable around him with Heyman. We could figure out what they're going to do with Heyman and that crew after, talking about Rollins, but how do you book him going forward? Do you have to, in the back of your mind, think that physically he may not be able to hold up for a long period of time? And is that unfair to think that?
No, well, I mean, physically, he'll be able to walk around again. He's not, in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. It's just a question of how athletic he's going to be and how much he's going to have to modify his style. And it probably wouldn't be a bad thing if he didn't do as many springboards and have a Coronas and dives and things as he does now, because he's still getting older anyway, and he's a star, and he doesn't need to, because he can talk for the most part, and he can work, and he's being put in with other big stars that they care about. And if he's working with CM Punk ain't going to be doing any goddamn moonsaults to the floor. So it's he can modify that and still have years more on his career that he wants to have, depending on how many he wants to have. The question is, right now, they're losing millions of dollars because they're not only going to have to pay him his guarantee while he's out, but they've just put, as you said, the heel stable together. And they had plans going forward for major pay-per-view events, et cetera, and that does cost millions of dollars in revenue at this level. And so that's one reason why, to be quite honest with you, that some of the guys that are just the AEW darlings and or even sometimes the WWE darlings, they don't want to invest millions of dollars and have millions of dollars on the line with guys that are doing shit like that. Because this was a kind of a medium range difficulty wrestling maneuver these days. But as we've seen, it can happen with a simple thing. And that's why the WWE won't tolerate guys going to the extent they do in AEW and devaluing all the big moves, because they don't want the guys to have to do so much more to get the same response, which leads to the multiple injuries and surgeries that are more prevalent now in every company. So there's a lot of money on the line here. And if I was them, I would keep Seth on television every week as much as possible with Heyman, with the other two guys as a tag team, henchman, whatever the fuck, and put Seth in a guy. Remember when Brett was hurt and was in a wheelchair as the leader of the Hart Foundation?
97, yeah.
But he was still on TV every week. He was really hurt. He had the knee scoped. But we kept him on television, and he was still the leader of the group. Well, now they're going to say, oh, Seth needs to have surgery and do his rehab and, go to the beach house or whatever the fuck they do these days. We'll see him in 6 months or whatever. I don't know. But if it was old time wrestling and you wanted to keep the booking going and the guy had to show up to get paid, you'd have him out there in a fucking wheelchair with that leg all wrapped up like a mummy and have him still talking and getting heat and pointing his finger to have other people do shit. But I don't know. We may not see that for a while.
If they go the other way and it's Dr. James Andrews, surgery, hardcore rehab from home, what do you do with Heyman in the stable? Do you look at this as a chance to do something different with someone else and set up Rollins to be a babyface when he comes back? If he's not going to actively be on TV, but Heyman obviously is, and Braun and Bronson will be, what are the options and what should they do?
It might not be if it's the ACL, if it's 6 to 9 months, and again, the other ligaments aren't quite as serious, but he's had previous damage. Maybe this is just something else, but it's still going to be a little while, one would assume.
I mean, can Heyman do the Jimmy Hart, Jerry Lawler?
I swear to God, with Braun Breaker.
Yeah.
With Braun Breaker, well, what about if Paul still has the briefcase? Because, Seth had to go to the hospital. Paul's got the briefcase in his car.
Possession.
Paul bestows the briefcase on Braun Breaker because Paul's already looking ahead to his next young champion.
That's heat.
And then, and it's the line, what about Seth Rollins? Well, what do you do with a racehorse when he breaks his leg? You shoot him. And then Seth could come back for Braun. And that doesn't, because again, people are so smart. If it's a legitimate injury and it's a long rehab, as you said, people are going to be sympathetic to him when he comes back because he's gone through all this. So how about if his goddamn wise man it ended up saying, okay, I'll take your shit and put it on somebody else, another horse I can ride because I shot you because you were no good to me anymore. And then you've got Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins. That's money with Paul, in the middle of it.
I mean, obviously LA Knight beat him. They do something with LA Knight. having to do with that, but I don't know what. But
No, I don't think otherwise than LA Knight having that win under his belt to be referred to and what he does next over the next few weeks or whatever. I don't think that's going to historically be a match that is even remembered or referred to. They're going to slide on by.
some people will say Rey Mysterio, by and large, even though he's older now, wrestles the same kind of match he wrestled 20 years ago.
No, he doesn't.
And he has no knees. His knees are gone.
But that's what the thing. He does the same thing, a couple of the same things that people remember him doing. But no, and this is not a disrespect to Rey Mysterio. It's an acknowledgement that he's 30 years older than people first saw him, and he's had injuries, and he is smart enough and talented enough to modify his shit to where now, if the people see Ray shine for 45 seconds, do a trademark thing, get cut off and sell, get sympathy, and then make a comeback, hit a couple of things off the ropes and a 619, they're happy. And go back and look at what Rey Mysterio was doing in 1997 or whatever. And no, it's not the same thing. But he's smart.
Well, going to Seth Rollins, he's 39 years old. Does someone have to have a conversation with him about how much he has left in the tank if he wrestles the same way he's wrestling?
Well, no. He should be having that conversation with himself because he's the one that can tell you're the one that can tell what you can do or not. Now, if you want to ignore yourself, so I'll keep doing the shit that I used to do, even though I'm probably going to hurt myself. Well, and that's one thing, but you guys throughout the history of the wrestling business, when they had to work to get paid, and when they had to show up, they were advertised and blah, blah, blah. They figured out ways to get themselves over so that as long as it was them doing something, they didn't have to do every goddamn thing. They could work around it. You could work around a leg or work around an arm or, whatever. You've changed your style. Dick the Bruiser, for fuck's sake. He took hip tosses in 1959, but not in fucking 1982. You have to, but you still got to go to work. So you figure out what you can do to get yourself and your shit over that doesn't involve shit that you can't do anymore. And everybody has done that in the business at one time or another.
If he returns every week in a wheelchair, that theme music's really going to be awful. It's going to be endless.
That's the thing, is that he wants to be the Messiah. Well, he could come out with a goddamn, I'm just saying now, I like fucking Paul taking the case and giving it to Braun better. But if they wanted to keep him on TV, he could come out with the Jim Jones sunglasses and the wheelchair and the whole 9 yards and preach to people and corrupt his evil minions with Paul beside him.
I think it was off air. If it was on air, I apologize. But I mentioned to you that we've received a lot of feedback recently from people sick of the Seth Rollins heel leader of the stable character, I guess. Sick of people.
Yes.
Some people finally fed up with the Punk Rollins feud, and some people specifically not digging Rollins. To your point, the best solution might be a complete change, because it's not going to hurt business. It can only improve things. Either elevating Braun. I don't know if there's a mystery new leader you could just substitute in there. It's kind of like when Edge left Judgment Day. Judgment Day just kind of took off on their own. But you're convincing me that is the best way to go.
Yeah, I mean, if there was some new mystery person to just come in and, why do they drop him in out of a helicopter? That would be caca.
And if Rollins could somehow get back within a year, he could return and chase after the guy holding his case that has the ability to cash in.
And then the clock is ticking because he's only got a few months left. There you go.
That was Seth Rollins and LA Knight, and we'll see what happens with Seth Rollins shortly, within a day or so on TV. But Jim, there was still more of Saturday night's main event.
Oh, there certainly was and I mean, they had to kill a little time because the match between Seth and LA Knight went home early, but at somehow, and I believe I might know, but somehow they had time to fill and still went off the goddamn air in the middle of fucking Goldberg's promo. This show was snake bit. And this is NBC television. It's a WWE studio. It's not like they are strangers to live broadcasts. And at the end, they were just going hard to break where they weren't even, not only were they not pitching to it, which often they don't, but they weren't fading. There wasn't a lead to the break. It just, boom, there's a commercial. And then like I said, they managed to go off the air we saw 10 seconds of Goldberg's retirement fucking speech. It was a fiasco, but all I could say when I was watching this was poor Gunther, who is the most talented, dedicated, professional. They ought to be over the moon at the talent that they have got in Gunther, or the employee they've got, I should say, because goddamn poor guy. They even brought Doug Dillinger back. And I've known Doug since 1985. He was a Charlotte City police officer working for Crockett, doing security at the matches.
That popped me. Seeing old Doug Dillinger knock on the door,
Yeah.
That got me. Because I didn't see him early in the show. I missed when they showed him in the crowd. But when they knocked on the door, that got me.
Yeah. And I don't know how old Doug would be, but my God, I think he was certainly had to be in his 30s when I was in my 20s. Anyway, I'm surprised he's still alive. But anyway, he did the walk. Goldberg looked in pain walking. Could you tell, or was it me, or did he always walk like that?
I don't know if I thought it there in the hallway. I definitely thought it a little bit later, that it looked like as he was walking, he was struggling moving around. Again, he's a guy. He's not a young guy, and beyond wrestling, he played football.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying he needs to, that he's Ox Baker and he has no track record of being physical, but the aura, that's the problem. I think it was Goldberg in the match, coming out, doing the stuff that Goldberg did, but it wasn't the same aura. And I think the fans weren't going batshit. Remember when they would see Stone Cold come back, right? No matter where it was, Pismo Beach or Seattle, Washington, the place goes out of their minds because it's Stone Cold and he still had the aura. And I guess he probably still has the aura, but we haven't seen him in a while. But were the people in Atlanta going nuts when Goldberg was walking to the ring, or was it kind of like, yeah, there's Goldberg?
It seemed like they were really into it. Now, the match kind of just popped up within a few weeks, so it wasn't like there was a long build. But also, I think, Goldberg's a big star, and his peak was a long time ago. And if you try to look at any other period in wrestling history, dropping someone from 25 years ago to now to be as over as they were then, it's hard to do.
Well, and that's the other thing, is that he hasn't had the constant comebacks, and I don't mean it just comebacks in the ring. I mean, he's back at this function or that event, or he's at this, or he's a guest at ringside. Like a lot of they got to keep people steadily watching them. If you want to see Goldberg really in the ring, you're looking at YouTube or whatever from 25 years ago. And 25 years, that would mean that in 1986, Pat O'Connor could have come in and challenged for the NWA title.
Would it have drawn? Even in St. Louis?
No. Shit, by 1986, St. Louis wouldn't draw for Crockett. Anyway, So I just think the aura that he used to have that would leap through the screen at you is not there, and it's time. It's no shortcoming of his. But nevertheless, Gunther is a genius again. Goldberg was stationary for the most part, and Gunther worked off of him. And he had Goldberg no sell the chop. And basically, Goldberg was the punches, the elbows, and the clotheslines. And Gunther, would stop him and go to the top so he could get slammed off. And then they did a spot where they fought on the floor and Goldberg could miss a spear and go through the barricade so you could get the effect of the impact of his spear without it having to, him having to actually spear a person and it not looking like people wanted it to. And then boom, 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 Gunther worked the knee. Gunther was leading this, let's say, charitably, kind of step by step. I'm thinking that the reason why I think they did everything they were supposed to do, but I think it took longer than they thought, which is maybe why they went off the air, because I think Goldberg was drooping after a while. So at any rate, finally Goldberg goes for the spear, but Gunther moved and Goldberg speared poor old Charles Robinson. And down he went. And then Gunther took Goldberg's knee brace off. And they were talking about Goldberg's, bad knee and et cetera, trying to make him vulnerable. And the fans were into that. And he whipped Goldberg's knee with the brace. And then he went out and he killed time working the people because they were about to go home. And I'm thinking that he was probably trying to give Goldberg, because Goldberg had to get him up for the jackhammer, right? I'm thinking he's probably wanting Goldberg to breathe at that point, all he wants to. So he milked the people and he shoved Goldberg's son, and Goldberg's son hops the rail and a security tries to hold him back. And Gunther gets back in the ring and now Goldberg hits the spear, boom, and the fans are up now. And then Goldberg gets him up and jackhammers him barely. Not the flattest one ever. Here comes a new referee, cover, 2 count. And then Goldberg couldn't get up because his leg was bad. And Gunther got the choke. And Goldberg fought, but he couldn't get out, and the referee called for the bell. So we got to see the spear and the jackhammer. And enough smoke and mirrors with the referees to where Goldberg had plenty of outs. And then Gunther choked him out, which is what the right result was in this instance. If you're going to have Goldberg's final match against that guy, he couldn't fucking make the people happy. But it was 15 minutes bell to bell, and I don't know if they thought that it was going to take that long. Because then they went to break, as I said, cold again.
Right away, yeah.
Right away. And then came back at like 9:50, 9:30. And Goldberg's in the ring with all of his family and his friends. And he said they've come from all over the country to see me here tonight. And he spoke for 15 seconds and in mid-sentence, boom, black, off air. And what the fuck?
Yeah, we kill AEW when they've done that in the past. They did that with Sting on the pay-per-view. That's what it was.
Yeah.
I would have rather shave a few minutes off this match and give him. I would have rather have seen a speech from Goldberg, an emotional speech, than a few extra minutes on the match.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think they had to give Goldberg a few extra minutes in there to not vomit. But the thing is that you can't imagine that they left less than 5 minutes at the end for an in-ring speech with Goldberg and all of those people. I would, in the format, so I would, how the fuck they get that far off? I don't know. But yeah, the AEW overrun now is an accepted thing, and it's regular and expected. But I think it came from AEW not being able to time their show and just run it over to the point where they said, well, let's do it anyway. We'll add to the average. But this was a rotten way to end a network television program.
Yeah. I think going to the break right after the finish and then coming back just to see a few seconds of what was clearly a big moment for him and a lot of people there. He said over 100 people from around the country were there that he brought in for this.
Yeah.
Again, there was plenty of other stuff on the show they could have shaved. And after the Rollins injury,
they were short.
Yeah, I'd be embarrassed that happened. That was what I wanted to see. Seriously, that's what you want. They should have led off with Goldberg then and let him have his final match and give the speech, but they ended with it and we got to see. Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a match they go from finish to commercial like that so abruptly.
Well, and you wouldn't have known they were coming back because the break went on for so long, and everybody's clock probably said, half of them said 10 o'clock anyway, because it was just that close. And it would think. So, yeah, the talent is more professional, and you hardly get to see them do anything. Normally, the production is more professional, but in this case, they shit the bed. And you have to put up here with jelly rolls and rapper G's and whatever the fuck. But is that better or worse than watching a bunch of fucking children act like male cheerleaders in a never-ending fucking video game fight that lasts for hours and hours and it all blends together? Why can't we just have some wrestling again?
Well, that was Goldberg versus Gunther, and that was Saturday night's main event. There's a lot more to talk about. This may be the end of that because of time travel. But Jim, after a full day of wrestling, starting with the Great American Bash and, of course, All In, Saturday night's main event, it is night. It's time to go to sleep. And we know someone that we can tell all the listeners about to help them with a good night's sleep.
Well, I'll tell you what, there was no problem with me going to sleep after I'd watched some of this stuff. Actually, the only problem was there were the horrific sights that I had seen running through my head. I was tossing and turning like I was having a living nightmare. Please stay away from me. I don't want to see any more wrestlers. But if you would like to sleep, and not only sleep, but sleep refreshed and wake up refreshed, or stay asleep and wake up refreshed. Can you sleep while you're refreshed? Or would it be that you were too excited when you were refreshed to sleep?
Take a shower.
Regardless, the sleep is what refreshes you, folks. And unlike other sleep aids that give you next day grogginess, our friends at Beam and their dream powder will change everything in your life. It will change your sleep patterns. It will change the trouble you have falling asleep, the trouble you have staying asleep. You won't even have to get up in the middle of the night and wee as much as you used to, because, I used to wake up in the middle of the night, Brian, and I would think, do I need to go? I should go. Do I need to go? And then I'd wake myself up. Well, now you don't have to worry about that. And there's also a good chance that you won't actually go.
Well, once again, folks, these are not parts of the tenets, the promises of our friends at Beam, the Dream Powder.
They have a contract with America that if you add Beam's Dream Powder to your routine, you will sleep through the night without tossing and turning. It will instantly, your muscles will be useless as you'll just lay there, and that way you get more sleep because you have no use of your appendages.
No. First of all, no. Second of all, this is not their promise to America, I assure you.
Well, I said no tossing and turning. And you'll wake up actually refreshed, not groggy, not exhausted, ready to take on the day. As I've said many times, after I take some Beam, I get a good night's sleep. I wake up, I'm ready to punch some son of a bitch in the face. You're going to want to take on the day, folks, and you're going to want to win. And you're not the only one, because Beam has improved 17.5 million nights of sleep And 92% of the users surveyed reported better sleep and waking up refreshed.
That's right.
The other 8%.
That's the percent.
They're going to check in as soon as they regain the ability to understand English. That's what the survey's in.
That has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And what we're talking about is a good night's sleep. I can tell you one thing here in this household. The lovely Suzanne is a big fan of Beam's Dream Powder.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Stacy has been for, I told you, she's got the customized mug they have also. The Dream Powder has been introduced into her daily or nightly routine, and now you can just give her a sip of this and boom, she'll be gone. You don't have to worry about her for days at a time.
That is not what happens. She'll get a good night's sleep.
Well, I don't worry about her for days at a time. I don't know about you.
That is you. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, your significant others will wake up feeling refreshed as you will when you use the fine and delicious, I must say, Dream Powder from Beam.
Yes, that is true. That is a trend. And if they're reluctant to try it, we'll just slip a little bit in when they don't notice.
No, that's not allowed.
Thank you later.
That's not allowed. It is only by consent, and I can't believe we're talking about this here. But once again, ladies and gentlemen, if you consent to what you ingest yourself, get yourself something that'll help with a good night's sleep, feel refreshed. Beam.
Ingest what you enjoy. And we will tell you now, without jesting, how you can save a lot of money on it for a limited time only right now and in the next few minutes, but not long. Beam is giving our listeners, that's you people out there, you people, the best offer yet, up to 40% off. You can try it now at shopbeam, B-E-A-M, shopbeam.com/JCE. Use the code JCE at checkout and get up to 40% off for a very wee limited time. Shopbeam.com/JCE. The code is JCE for up to 40% off. And you can put your whole family to sleep for a very affordable price.
Again, in a sense, that is exactly right. Beam, the Dream Powder from our friends at Beam. We love it over here. You'll love it there. One more time, Jim. That promo code for all the wonderful listeners.
All the people who haven't written it down by now, shopbeam.com/JCE, the promo code JCE, up to 40% off. Put your neighbors to sleep, too. It'll be quieter around holidays.